Cantor Nimi?
Before you do that, Harold, would you ask Darina to mute her?
Yes, Doreen, if you could mute. Cantor Nimi is here. Is Kenneth here?
Yes.
Kenneth? Do we see Kenneth?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So, Cantor Nimi, can you lead us in a rousing round of happy birthday to Kenneth today?
Sure.
Go ahead. No, you're muted, Cantor.
My apologies. Has to
And
happen to me every once in
we
a
won't
while.
unmute, but we'll just sway along and sing at home.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kenneth. Happy birthday to you.
And many more. And while I have you, would you like to sing us in, Cantor?
Sure.
Okay. Something a
So
little different.
I missed out on a couple of the classes last week, but I caught up over the weekend, and I noted that one of the verses we had actually has one of my favorite phrases, "Kanfei ruach," wings of spirit. And there's a great there's a quote by the Harav Kook, the first chief rabbi of the Shuv, the first kind of resettlement of what was then Palestine under the British Mandate by Jewish settlers. And he wrote this. He has a lot of text, but there's this text that was set to music by Abigail Uziel Amar. And you see that it actually refers both to Kanfei Ruach and to Kanfei Nisharim, to wings of spirit and to wings of eagles. So this is Kanfei Ruach, also sometimes known as by the first phrase Ben Adam. Ben Adam, ale malale, ale malale, Ben Adam, ale malale. Ben Adam, malele malale, alele malale, Ben Adam, malele malale. Ki koach az lecha, yesh lecha kanfei ruach, yesh lecha kanfei ruach, kanfei nisharim abirim, al techacheish bam, pen yichachashu lecha, דרוש אותם, דרוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה, עלה למעלה עלה, בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה. בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה, malale ben adam malale ki koach az lecha yesh lecha kanfei ruach yesh lecha kanfei ruach kanfei nisharim amirim al techacheish bam pen yichachashu lecha דרוש אותם, דרוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה, עלה למעלה עלה, בן אדם, עלה למעלה עלה.
Oh, thank you, Cantor Nevi. That was beautiful. I also love that phrase very much. And I want to welcome back to our class after a week of Shiva and of burial of Shari's father, Shari and Debbie. I think they're joining us from Tel Aviv this morning. They got up from Shiva yesterday morning. And thank you, everybody who came to Shiva Minyan
Yeah.
on
Our
on, everybody needs to mute themselves who's not talking right now. Thank you, everybody. And turns out Cantor Nimi, I think Shari's brother is a member of your congregation in Wisconsin. Is that right?
And the head of the Jewish Federation in Madison as well.
Wow. So what a nice kind of circle there. So Shari and Debbie, I think you're with us, so I just want to welcome you back and welcome you in this getting up from Shiva. And this is a tough week, the week after Shiva. And it's a tough time emerging from burying a beloved. And for those of you who were there Saturday night, you heard an incredibly beautiful hesped, short eulogy that Shari gave about her father. And they just moved back to Israel 3 months ago, where he lives. And so they were able to be with him on this last 3 months of his journey on this earth. And what an incredible gift. They haven't even unpacked this. They have over 60 boxes in their apartment in Tel Aviv that remain boxes because they've been so focused on taking care of Shari's father, they haven't had a chance to unpack. So Shari and Debbie, welcome back to class. And we're grateful, for me personally, to hear that Tehillim, that Psalms were such an important part of your being with your father that night that he passed from this world to the next. Zichrono Livracha, may his memory be for a blessing, and may he be sheltered on the kanfei, on the wings of Shechina, on the wings of Shechina. Okay, so we go back to Psalm 18.
Rabbi, I just had a quick question. We do have a little something from Ira and Norman Fisher, if you wanted to run it today, where Ira will report back. He was at a meeting he was at a program with Norman Fisher, asked a question, and Norman Fisher, and they talked about the Psalms class and the translations.
Can we do it at the end of class?
We can do it at the end of class. We can do it.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. And Harold is going to send out again the introduction to Norman Fisher's book. And Harold and I will consult. We will have a discussion of his introduction is really essential reading. And so many of the questions people have asked about his perspective on the Psalms are found in that introduction. And since he's become so beloved to so many of us, I thought it would be great to actually set a date by which we want everybody to read the whole introduction, and then we can discuss it. Okay, so, and I want to urge people, if you can afford it, please buy the book itself.
Right.
It's really important to own books that are of value and to support the artists and writers and book designers. And it's not that expensive. There is a paperback version and a hardcover version. I don't remember how much it is, but we will be using it continually. So it will be a very useful text to have, and I promise you will not regret owning Norman Fisher's book itself. But Harold did send out the introduction.
Yes, I put it in the email this morning, so everybody should have
Thank
it.
you, Harold.
Oh, yes.
All right, so let's go back to Psalm 18. We are going to spend the few days this week digging our way through. Remember, this is 51 verses? 51 verses. And and what we're going to do is do chunks each day, digging through the Hebrew. And it's fine if you own the altar and you have the altar open while we do this, if you want to offer things, because we're not going to do altar separately because the psalm is so large. We're going to continue studying the psalm with the Hebrew, and then we're going to look at Bernstein's psalm at the end of this week, probably, and then maybe a quick rereading of Fisher, which you read in Chavruta. So I think we are up to Pasuk Chaf Aleph or Chaf Bet, 21 or 22.
21.
21. Thank you, Sherry. So we're up to 21. And can we have somebody read it through the 21 through 32 in Hebrew?
I think Ben, would you like to take it?
Sure. 21 through which?
31.
יגמלני אדוני כצדקי, כבוא ידי ישיב לי. כי שמרתי דרכי אדוני, ולא רשעתי מאלוהי. כי כל משפטיו לנגדי, וחוקותיו לא אסיר ממני. ויהי תמים עמו, ואשתמר מעווני. וישב אדוני לי כצדקי, כבוא ידי לנגד עיניו. אם חסיד תתחסד, אם גבר תמים תתמם, אם נבר תתברר, ואם עיקש תתפלל. כי אתה עם עני תושיע, ועיניים רמות תשפיל. כי אתה תאיר נרי, אדוני אלוהי יגיע חושכי. כי בך ארץ גדוד, ובאלוהי אדלק שוב.
Okay, do we have somebody to read it in English?
Someone put up their hand in chat and I will call on you. I can't see.
Thank you,
Sarah
Ben.
Siegel.
Thank you,
Oh,
Ben.
Sarah Siegel.
Okay. Adonai rewards me with divine justice. According to the purity of my hands, God gives me recompense. For I have kept the ways of Adonai, and I have not acted wickedly against my God. For all God's judgments are before me. I will not turn away from them. I have been wholehearted with God. I have kept myself away from wrongdoing. Adonai has given me recompense according to my just acts, according to the purity of my hands before the eyes of God. With a loving person, you act lovingly. With a wholesome person, you show your wholesomeness. With a pure person, you reveal your purity. But with the crooked, you show your twisted side. For you bring victory to an afflicted people, but you cast down haughty eyes. For you light my lamp. Adonai, my God, you make my darkness glow. For with you, I can race ahead like a legion, and with God, I can hurdle a wall.
Thank you. Now, I want to remind folks that diving into a psalm of this length is, I used the image last week. It's more like studying a symphony than a pop song. You know, a pop song classically has maybe one, maybe 2 points it's trying to make. I loved you, you never loved me back. I loved you, I lost you. I loved you, you loved me, you know, or something like that. If you were to distill down the 3 to 5 minutes of a pop song, there are rarely multiple messages, and and musically they pretty much have an arc that is very, very simple to see. A symphony, which has multiple movements, 3, 4 movements, goes through many different emotions and goes back and forth. It doesn't stay in one for the whole thing. It doesn't stay in one emotion or in one place spiritually or intellectually, and it has many different musical motifs, which I can't analyze, but so a psalm of this length is more like that. There isn't one idea, and there aren't 2 ideas that just go back and forth. There might be, and we're doing this psalm for the first time as a group, or for some of you, this might be the first time you've ever seen this psalm. So we're going to be able to get a certain sense of it. But so just don't try this question. What is this psalm about? It's like saying, what is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony about? Well, there's some big ideas there, but there's a lot of other stories that are taking place. You know, what is War and Peace about? Well, you could distill it down, but also some of the greatest joy of a very big piece of great literature. You know, what is Proust about? You could say, you know, there are things that happen in the detail, in the slowness of it, in the repetitiousness of it, in the relationship back and forth. So we want to, and poetry is like that in general. To say what is a poem about kind of misses the point. A poem isn't just about one idea. A poem is also, how does a poem mean? How does it get to you? How does it take you along on that journey? How does it do it? And it's in the, so I'm just resisting trying to get to a simple definition. Do you know what I mean? So just stay with me, stay with the ocean, with the river of the Psalms in general, and this Psalm particularly. So we're just going to keep looking at this Psalm, 10 verses a day, hopefully, and we'll finish it this week. Finish this first round, which will be how we're going to study this Psalm. So 21. Right? Is that what we started with? Why can't I remember?
21, yes.
Yeah, okay. So Yud Hey Vav Hey rewards me kitsid ki. Tzedek, remember, tzadi, kuf, tzadi, dalad kuf, tzedek, tzedakah, means justice of some kind. So by saying divine justice is the commentary that that Levi is adding, that there's something related to the holiness of the one. Kavor yad. I'm gonna have to read from my book. It's too small there. Kavor yadai yashiv li. According to my hands, it will be returned to me. This is kind of that kind of concept of how according to the purity of my hands, it will be returned to me. This is the concept of karmic restitution. How I act in the world will have an impact on me. That my actions, the way I am in the world, will impact on me. How exactly? That's very complicated. Ki, because, or for, or as a result of. I have, shamarti is from the word shin mem resh, which means to protect or to guard, like to say somebody is shomer Shabbat, or the word of shmirah, which is what we do when we sit with a dead body and recite psalms or sing songs or read poetry, is to be a shomer. So because this is saying, because I have protected or I have cared for or I have watched over darche yud hey vav hey, the ways of derech. Darche is the plural, and then in the smichut form, darche is, people might have heard there's a synagogue in New York, isn't there? Darche Tzedek or
Darchei Noam.
Darche Noam. So that's a very common. So darche are the ways of, or the paths of. Darche Yud Hey Vav Hey. So because I have protected the ways of Yud Hey Vav Hey, Vilo and not. In this case, the Vav is the disjunctive or conjunctive, depending how you read the lo. It's lo is the negative. I have not rashati. Remember the word rasha? Remember there are three basic words in the Psalms for evil or bad, or which could either mean internal evil, external enemies, or internal enemies. And rasha is one of them. Rasha, ra, and oyev. Those are the three words that are used classically, and there can be a lot said about when each one is used and the how the three is. But rasha is a evil person or one who does evil. There's a very famous Rashi, actually, which this reminds me of. Rashi, who was the great medieval commentator from France. And he says really famously, which gets quoted in Musar all the time, Oy la Rasha, woe unto the Rasha, to the evil person. Oy la Rasha, oy l'shcheno. But really, woe to his neighbor. So in other words, the issue is, if you hang out with Russia, if you hang out with Rashaim, if you are around people who are evil, who do bad, oy l'shcheno, woe to their neighbor. In other words, be careful with whom you keep company, because the people around you will influence you. You have a choice. Do you surround yourselves with people and with activities that will bring out the best in you? Or do you surround yourself with people and activities that bring out the Yetzer Hara, the evil in you? And part of our goals as human beings, according to Jewish tradition, is to consciously understand that the people with whom we surround ourselves, the activities with which we engage, will have an impact on us and how the kind of person we want to become. So in this pasuk, in this verse, I have not acted wickedly, Elohai, against my God. And again, the words for God here, if you have difficulty with the God business, replace it with doing good in the world, as Michael Goldstein has shown us his version of it, or acting in ways of holiness. So imagine, if you read this sentence that way, because I have kept the ways of increasing holiness in the world by following the ways of holiness, I have not acted in evil ways that would decrease holiness in the world. Kichol, for all, ki, because, as a result of, it's some kind of conjunctive there. Kol mishpatav. Mishpat, the shoresh is shin, pei, tet. Shofet is a judge. Remember, that word is really important in Psalms. And the concept that judges being fair and just is a basic concept in the Psalms. And the judge of all, in other words, God, is a God of justice. Ki chol mishpatav, all of judgments linegdi. Neged literally means neged, means against, but linegdi means kind of, as they translated here, before me or opposite me or in front of me. Ki chol, all of God's judgments are before me. V'chukotav lo asir meni. Remember, you might have remembered that I mentioned that in Jewish law there are two kinds of laws. One is in the category of mishpatim, which is that first word, and the second category of Jewish law is chukim, which is the separate word, chet kuf. The shoresh is probably chet vav kuf or chet yud kuf. It's a weak middle letter of the shoresh, so it drops out in various forms. And chukim, so mishpatim in Jewish law are laws that make sense, are ethical laws. Don't kill somebody, don't steal, things like that. Chukim are laws that don't have sense on the surface. Keep kosher. What? There's no intellectual sense to it. So Jewish philosophical approach to law is that there are laws we keep because we understand them and they make sense to us as human beings. And then there are laws that traditionally are kept in Judaism because God wants it of us, and we have to accept there are mysteries in the universe, and we don't understand everything. And everything is not centered on human understanding. So this is the other word for law. But again, in biblical parallelism, when the psalmist wrote this, they probably did not know about that distinction, which was made later in the Talmud. But what we see here is biblical parallelism. In these two verses, we see two different uses of the word law. The chukotav, I will lo asir, I will not turn away. Asir, I will turn meni, from them, or from it. 24. Ve'ehi tamim imo, I will be. This is the I will be, but ve'ehi is in the future imperfect tense, and that vav haipuch is in the makes it past or perfect. Tamim imo. Tamim means simple, pure, straightforward. Here they're translating wholehearted. Imo, oto, with him, with God. So Levi doesn't want to, is using God instead of him. Ve'eshtamer me'avoni. Avon is a sin or a transgression. So I have kept myself. So again, the shoresh is shin memresh, shin memresh, but it's in hitzpalel, which means it's reflexive. So eshtamer, I have kept myself, I have protected myself from sinning or wrongdoing. Me'ovini. So again, the psalmist, the author, is saying in repeated ways how I've been good and how I've really tried to live a life of justice and of compassion and of doing the right things. And I've tried in my human ways to be as aligned with the holiness of the universe, with doing the right things as I can. 25. Vayeshev, is it?
Vayashev.
Vayashev. I'm going to keep my Hebrew here too. Vayashev Yodhe Vaveli Kitsid Ki. Now, again, that's a repetition, very similar to 21 with the Kitsid Ki. And it has been returned to me according to in a just way. Now remember, this is a repetition of 21. Kivur Yadai, but a little bit with a little different verb, yashiv li. But it's definitely you hear the repetition of the structure. According to the purity of my hand. So as I have acted in the world, so it has been returned to me. There has been some sense of balance. I've been a basically good person. 26. Im chasid tit chasad. So again, remember, I'll say this, till I'm blue in the face. In Hebrew poetry, it's considered literate and poetic to repeat the shoresh in different forms. As I said, in English, it's considered bad form to repeat a word. Like our idea is we should use a lot of new words. In Hebrew, it's considered good form to take the same shoresh and to repeat it in slightly different ways, or even in the same way, but slightly different meaning, to bring out the richness of the shoresh. So, im chasid tit chasad, right? Tit chasad, yeah. Im chasid, with, and Levy's translating this as loving person. Tit chasad, you've been loving, you've acted lovingly. And remember, chasid, this is the same word as a chassid that we hear. So a chassid is a loyal. So chassid can mean like gemilut chasadim, can mean loving acts or compassionate acts or loyal or loving kindness. Im gavar, right? Im gavar tamim tit tamam. Again, repetition, and you can see the biblical parallelism beautifully in this pasuk. The im starts both phrases, different word, chasid and gvar, and here we repeat tamim tit tamam. Now we came across this word just a few psukim earlier. We said ve'ehi tamim, I will be, or I have been tamim. Tamim is pure or simple. It can have a slightly negative connotation I think in modern Hebrew. I'm not sure that in simple, can it? For my Hebrew, for my Israelis, can it mean?
Yeah, sometimes it can mean naive.
Naive, yeah. It doesn't really have that as much in biblical Hebrew. It has more like kind of a straight shooter in the sense of being kind of simple but direct, and simple but not simpleton, not naive necessarily. But ish tamim. Oh well, yeah. So here it's very interesting. So 26. So that's a little. So there's a great example. If you only came here with modern Hebrew to this, you might read this quite differently than the biblical language wants you to get to. 27. Im navar tit barar. Now you notice this repetition. There's this repeated use of the with a pure person, you reveal your purity. V'im ikesh tit patal. I don't know the word tit patal. Does anybody know tit patal? So your twisted side. I'd have to look that up. What that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the word exactly, but it is about something twisted.
Yeah. Okay. So it's showing. So you see these repetitions of these verses with someone who is honest, so to speak. With someone who is pure, you'll show the pure side. With someone who's twisted, you're going to show the twisted side. In other words, we each have some personality traits that it's a choice at how they get developed. I think that's part of the point of these verses, and one of the points of this psalm, that each of us has things that we could choose to develop or choose to diminish, that these are within each of us, so to speak, right? So you can choose, and we have choices. Which of our midot, which of our characteristics do we want to emphasize and develop, and which of our characteristics do we not want to? And that's what choice is about in the universe, right? We all have mixtures, right? We're all complicated people. But we have choices about the people who we associate with. What do they bring out with us? We have
Rabbi,
what?
oh, I'm sorry. Patal is the word to twist, and it only appears 5 times in the Hebrew Bible, and this is the only time it appears in Psalms.
Wow. So there you go. So that makes it sui generis for Psalms.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, 28. 28. Ki ata. Again, there's the repetition of ki. You could, and when you heard it being read by Ben, or you'll hear there's a lot of the verses. There's a lot of rhythm in this section. Just if you hear a Hebrew speaker read it, it's a lot of rhythm. This is a very there's a sense of a metronome in this. There's a real beat here to this. I can't explain it better. But ki ata, for you. Am oni toshia. Now the last verb in the sentence where it says 28 toshia again is from this word to save, to redeem, and again it's the word for it's the shoresh of the word for salvation, which for Christians means the salvation as in Jesus. But here it's all over the Jewish Bible because it means to be redeemed, to be saved, to be rescued. So here you bring victory, you save oni, a poor people or a people being oppressed. 28 of Einayim, Ramot Tashbil. Eyes which are downcast. You bring Ramot is heights. Like people know in Jerusalem, there are a lot of neighborhoods like that have remote in them, which I can't think of right now. Anyway.
Ramat Aviv,
Yes, it's but
Ramat HaGolan.
Ramat Gan.
yeah, no. It's a different word it's a neighborhood in Jerusalem, but whatever. Okay, Ramot means heights, or means heights. So eyes that are high up, you will bring down. So he's translating this haughty, meaning haughty. Eyes that are, nose in the air. Nose in the air, you're gonna bring that down. Ki ata ta'ir eni. I love this because you ta'ir, lighten up or enlighten, or you light, as in you light my lamp. You are the source of the light of my lamp. You are the reason that if I have light, comes from you. My light comes from you. Adonai, Yud He Vav He, Elohai, my God. Yagia Chashki. How'd I do Cantor Nimi with that pronunciation?
Yagia. Yes, you were great.
Did you?
Yeah.
So the
furtive patach.
it's what?
The furtive patach, is that what you were referring to?
No, it's the dagesh that's in a hay there gets pronounced.
Right.
It means the hay is pronounced, and it's called a mapik. When there's a dot in the hay
yes.
like that, it's called a mapik. Cantor Nimi will correct me, and it means that the hay is actually pronounced when normally it would not because of the okay, cheshki. Okay, so the first part of this pasuk, you are the source of my light. If I have light in the universe, you're the one who gives it to me. Wow, that's what it means about being connected to the source of life. Yud He Vav He, you make my darkness glow. That's interesting, glow. Let's think about that for a second. I want to get through 31 before we stop. Kivacha, because within you, be otcha, in you, arutz gedud. Arutz here, this is not, you might think this is the shoresh for eretz, for land, but it's not. It is the verb to run, and the aleph is not part of the shoresh. The aleph is part of the verb. So larutz means to run. So this is where, for instance, when I say it's not always easy to figure out what the shoresh is. You have to understand that this is a verb, not a noun. And the verb is larutz, to run, and arutz is I will run, or I will race. Uve Elohai, and with God, I can jump over a wall. That's a sense of being so good. I'm so strengthened by my being connected to the source of the universe. Ha'el Tamim Darko. Ha'el, God. I'm not going to talk about names of God right now. Tamim, again the word Tamim. And this is how we know there's no pejorative in this understanding of the word. Again, we have to see it in many different contexts. This is referring to God, Darko. God's ways are perfect, are tamim, are pure, are simple in they're not twisted in the negative, twisted meaning, negative. They're pure. It's simple in the pure sense, Darko. Imrat Yud He Vav He, the words or the language or the speech of Adonai is pure. Magain, again the word magain, another word for defense, like Magain David. Haganah, Haganah Tateva. Magain David, my favorite organization in Israel. Magain is a protection, but Magain itself is a shield. Like a Magain David is the shield of David. Magain hu lechol hachosim bo. This is a shield for lechol, to everyone who searches out or takes refuge there. Let's just do 32, and then we'll stop here. No, I'm gonna stop now. So, did we read 32 in English, in Hebrew?
No, we only read till
Okay,
30.
great. Okay, so let's stop there.
All right. I think it was Ramot Alon, Rabbi. Was that the?
No, but whatever. I'll look it up. It's
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right, hands, please. Let's see. Linda Solomon has a question or comment or observation.
I
Linda.
do. Hi, Rabbi. I
Hello.
had two thoughts as I was reading through it, and one of them is had to do with 25, I think it was. Are we not to act good towards people? Is it only towards God, or this psalm is making a case for speaking good, doing good for God or to God,
Yeah,
but
I'm
not
sorry,
necessarily.
which verse, Linda? Which verse? Which verse?
I think it was 22 or 21 or 22.
Well, I think the psalmist and Jewish philosophy would say they're not separate.
Okay.
They're not separate. That if one is, since every human being is created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, you can't separate out what it is to act correctly, so to speak, towards
Or-
God includes how we act towards human beings.
It
It
was
wouldn't be separate.
against my God was the thing that
Yeah,
caught
well,
my eye.
if I don't respect God's creatures, I'm acting against God.
Okay. And the other thing I thought of was further down. I don't remember. I'd have to look at it. I think it was 25. What came to me is that all of these kind, loving, righteous words are being assigned to Adonai, but isn't God above all that? Isn't God above the righteous, above the wicked? He's God. To me, God is doesn't need those praises or to be called wicked when God does wicked things, because God is above all that. So
So
it's
I would say that the psalmist is trying to use, obviously we can't, we're human beings, and to talk about something that is ineffable, which is unable to talk about, it's a paradox, right? We have to use language. We have to use words because we're human. So our words will always be inadequate to talk about a power and a force in the world which created the universe. So there are going to be limitations, absolutely. So we have to live within those limitations. So that's why I encourage us, if the word God is just difficult, which it is because it's such a weird word and has so many weird connotations that are hard to get rid of, try and replace it every time you read it with a word like universe or universal good or universal or holiness or all that you consider to be sacred in the world. And all of a sudden it starts to make sense, right? So and it has a power that's way beyond human power. I think that's the idea.
Wow. Barbara Grindell, and then Sarah Siegel, and then we're going to have to wrap up the questions for today.
Yeah, we're going to
Barbara.
stay in this psalm obviously all week, so there's a lot more time for it.
Barbara Grindell.
Thank you. Hi, Rabbi.
Hi.
I'm looking at from 26 on. With a loving person, you act lovingly. With a wholesome person, you show your wholesomeness. I was thinking of children and how they model the behavior they see in their house. They pick friends that go along with that. And hopefully, if they are in a house of loving parents, they will model loving behavior. Something like that. It just spoke to me.
Sometimes yes
Being
and
a former
sometimes
teacher.
no.
Well,
And
of course.
there's a lot of in Judaism about the children of some very righteous people don't end up being very righteous. It's a lot.
Right.
Sometimes it's complicated.
Right.
And I'd say this is even bigger than that. Although, yes, we
Uh-huh.
hope that the best we can do is model for children how to behave in the world. And we
Right.
hope. But we also know how complicated that is. We also know that some children emerge from very abusive households to become loving,
Right.
wonderful people.
Right.
And I think this would say every person has choices all the time about how we emphasize. We all have it all inside of us, right? We all have, we all can be creeps and we can all be generous. We can all be compassionate and we could all be cruel. And those things are to different degrees in all of us all the time. And we have to live in a way in which we're surrounded by the people and the activities which help us to bring out the things we want to be.
Right.
And that's a choice for a kid of parents who have been abused as much as it is a choice for parents who have been loving. And at some point, every human being has to say, okay, I'm on my own 2 feet. Who am I going to be? Yes, I'm carrying the load and the burdens of who and what I've inherited in this universe. And I have to figure out what I'm going to do with that burden. And that's the human thing. Nobody has it easy, nobody has, and nobody's without suffering. So the question always becomes, how do we carry it in the world? And nobody can do it alone. That's what the other piece of this is. Oila Russia, oila Shcheno, Rashi says over and over again. How we surround ourselves with people. Do we surround ourselves with people who can help us, who can support us, who can inspire us, and who can criticize us to be the best person we can be? Or do we surround ourselves with people who are either sycophants or are negative influences or pull us down or encourage our cynicism or encourage our despair or encourage us to be the creeps we all have inside of us? We all have it.
Right. But if you get a touch
Those
of
are
that,
choices. That's free choice. And
okay.
those
I was
are
just going to
really-
say, if you only can put yourself with people that have these goodness qualities, if you even understand that, you have to see it somewhere first. That was my
Yes.
point,
Yeah, I
And-
agree. I'm not saying
Okay.
parenting is
And mine was a simple version of what you just said.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it out that
Parenting
way.
is very important, but I'm just saying I have watched people emerge from really horrible situations as children and become wonderful adults. And I've watched wonderful parents, produce children who are not necessarily so wonderful. It's not so. I'm just saying it's all complicated.
Rabbi, once again, the time has slipped through our
Sorry.
fingers. So I'm going to
And
suggest, I know,
these themes will repeat all week long. So keep
right, no,
them up.
I'm going to suggest that Cantor Nimi sing us out. He has his day job to get back to, and that we save Ira's comments and the Fisher recording for tomorrow, and recommend that everybody read that Fisher introduction so that, which he mentions quite a bit. What do you think?
Good idea. And we will dedicate some time to discussing Fisher's introduction because it's
And-
really valuable for understanding his interpretations.
And if I could just take a second for housekeeping. We're setting a deadline of Sunday for offerings because we're going to finish discussing Psalm 18 this week so that we can do offerings Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday we'll do Fisher, and then we will not move right into 19 because we will have, if I'm correct, Rabbi Rapport will be with us reviewing the Psalms of Hallel, which are such an important part of the Passover Seder, as part of our Passover Seder
Exactly.
preparation. And I also sent out another message that if you haven't registered yet for the 16th, please invite family and friends. And we're trying to wrap up the donations at a sponsorship level so we can do the program the middle of this week, Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you're going to come in, as I hope you all will, as a sponsor at $50 or above and give us 30 words that you would like us to share in the program, please do that as soon as possible. And with that, Cantor Nimi, I will show your
Can I just say, Shari and Debbie, I'm not sure what said, Ramot is itself a neighborhood in Jerusalem, located on one of the hills around Jerusalem. Thank you, Shari and Debbie. I'm not sure which one of you wrote that, but yes, so that's actually the name of the neighborhood is Ramot.
Cantor.
Wonderful. I was just thinking about, I was listening to the last conversation between Rabbi and Barbara, and I think that this actually really speaks powerfully to that. What are the kanfei ruach, the wings of spirit that might be able to lift us up out of whatever our circumstances are so that we can reach our highest potential, regardless of what those circumstances are, and how do we go about seeking them out? When they're hard to find. Ben Adam, alele malale, alele malale, Ben Adam, alele malale, Ben Adam, alele malale, alele malale, Ben Adam, alele malale. כוח אז לך, יש לך כנפי רוח, יש לך כנפי רוח, כנפי נשארים אווירים, אל תכחש בם, פן יכחשו לך, תירוש אותם, תירוש בן אדם, וימצאו לך מיד. Ben Adam, alele malale, alele malale, Ben Adam, alele malale.
Wow, that's gorgeous, gorgeous. Thank you. And happy birthday, Kenneth. And blessings and love to you, Debbie and Sherry in Tel Aviv. And I'll see everybody tomorrow. Yes, and everybody sign up for March 16th. Make a donation of any kind and invite as many people as you can. It's going to be a really fantastic, fantastic evening. Bye-bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Have a good day.
The room will stay open for a few minutes, about 5 minutes.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hey, can somebody tell me? I went on the website and I couldn't find the registration for this. I wanted to send links to friends. Is it on the website of CBST? It's in the calendar, but I couldn't figure out how to do anything with it.
Well, the flyer has it on the bottom.
The flyer, which is the thing that Harold sent, right?
Right. It's in there. It's at the bottom of that.
But it's not a live link. I have to type it in. Okay, thank you.
You can share the calendar also, the calendar
I
link.
try going on the calendar. I couldn't quite get it. I'll try it on my computer, not my phone. Thank you.
Yeah. The flyer has more information. You can send that out.
Judy, I agree with you. It's not easy because I wanted to send it to people who are outside the congregation, and it's.
Oh, hi, Dean. It's
Yeah.
good to hear your voice. Hi.
That's how we knew you, Judy.
A live link. Promote it.
Yeah, it's a
Everybody's
live person.
Yeah.
It's not a clip.
Oh, there's Serena.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off. Anyway,
me
everybody
too.
have a good day. See you.
You too. I have to
you
go
or
also.
see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yes, bye-bye. Thanks for reminding me. I have to get off.
Serena, I want to ask you a quick question. Do you know about Bulgarian roses? Are they different? I got a catalog from Edgar Casey, and one of the products they talk about is a spray made of Bulgarian roses.
Yes, those are special.
Really? How special? The smell is powerful?
Yes. Well, dear, I'll reference on Facebook. I'll try to find you and send you something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. I like roses, so I think I might get it because it's easy to take care of your skin. Just spray it on morning and night. So I might get that. I like the smell of roses. Mexican roses that grow here, that they sell here, usually don't smell. You have to get a greenhouse rose blue from the market. That's
There is just one area in Bulgaria when those particular roses grow, and they're grown exactly for their smell. They're not very beautiful.
oh, interesting. Okay.
They're used a lot in cosmetics.
Right. No, that's good. I love the smell. I don't care about the way they look. I just love the smell. So I want to get that, I think. Thank you. So have a good day or night. I don't know.
Evening,
Okay, have a good night.
6 p.m.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take care. Joy. Bye. Okay.